Hey everybody. This isn't a video I ever envisioned I would ever make or watch. But before we get started, let me remind everybody of the differences between the red pill and the blue pill. The red pill is the uncomfortable, often painful and ugly truth. The blue pill is living the comfortable lie. Why is this basic reminder important? Well, it's because as masculine men, it's imperative we cultivate the emotional and psychological fortitude to fortify us in order to accept the truth when it presents itself, no matter how brutal or painful that truth actually is. Many of us can sometimes suffer from confirmation bias. Nobody's immune. Red-pilled masculine men committed to ethics and integrity will recover from confirmation bias quicker than others and accept verifiable facts and observable reality for what they really are, the truth. Even so, we all know the truth is brutal. Often, the most painful experience in our life is discovering we've been lied to or betrayed by a loved one. Whether it's a lover, a spouse, a close friend, or even a trusted business partner. One of my sayings is, trust but verify, always. However, in the Manosphere, often the takeaway for too many is that this only applies to women. It doesn't. It applies to everyone. Men, women, and of course, the manginas who cosplay as red-pilled men who are in fact purple-pilled power bottoms. By the way, here's a bit of a spoiler alert. Many people think those who only accept part of the truth are purple pillars. They're not. They're blue pillars in denial. This is because the worst kind of lie is a half-truth. Self-identified purple pillars measure their ethics in half-truths. Remember, a half a truth is still a full lie. Why is this important? It's because the Manosphere has a betrayer in our midst who, in October 2018, put hundreds of men's lives in real danger. While he may not have always been this way, his betrayal at the 2018 21 convention forever branded him as a betrayer of masculine men. What's worse is that when he was confronted with the verifiable facts, like a dishonest woman, he refused to admit his betrayal and seek redemption. This is not the conduct of a red-pilled man. This is the conduct of a dishonest cosplayer looking to shill his personal brand of half-truths while cultivating fanatical fanboys to feed his fragile ego. So, what exactly am I talking about? Well, I think the fraud father of the Manosphere, Rollo Tomassi, says it best. Let's listen to what he has to say.
All right, yeah. The Good Man Project are basically what I call Vichy males. If you don't know what the word Vichy means, look up the Vichy French from World War II. They are the French that collaborated with the Nazis when they invaded their country. Okay, so when I say a Vichy male, what I mean is men who have sort of sold themselves out to the Gestalt feminine. So people, it's a convenient term, but that's what I mean when I'm talking about that. These are the guys who are the male feminists who are going to eventually have Me Too allegations thrown at them.
Okay, so we've heard it from him himself, Vichy male. Also, I should probably let you know that Anthony Johnson shared with me the private communications between he and Rollo Tomassi so that I could look at the facts of this situation and analyze the truth for myself. What you're seeing on the screen right now is the private time-stamped communications between Rollo Tomassi and Anthony Johnson that I was able to verify. And this was in ASCII text format provided me via Twitter. So these are actually Twitter DMs. So Rollo Tomassi on October 3rd, 2018 at approximately 2:44 p.m. stated to Anthony, "Remember the girl who interviewed me for the New York Times article about declining sperm count? First of all, doing a TRT story at last. Would love your help if you are still game. And I'd love to come out to the 21 convention, which is now so soon. Thinking it would be a great event to either write about or to meet people who have good future stories for me." Then he states, "The gender situation and the general level of stress has only gotten more intense every month this year. It's amazing." Then he states, "She says she'll fly out if she can get in." Now, what's the story that Rollo's talking about for the New York Times? It's this one here, "The Dawning of Sperm Awareness," by Nellie Bowles that was published on July 25th, 2018. So as you can see, Nellie Bowles has actually been talking to Rollo Tomassi since prior to July 25th of 2018. And apparently she was at least talking with him about this particular article and maybe some things before that. Who knows? But you have to remember that Rollo is asking Anthony about this on the 3rd of October, 2018. So that's what, 3 months later, something like that? So then Nellie contacts Anthony on October 7th, 2018 and states, "First, I should apologize. I should have reached out your way from the get-go. I'd been talking to Rollo and had written about his work before, so I was asking about the convention through him." In other words, Rollo is this feminist reporter's media contact within the Manosphere. That, I think, should send up some warning signs, but we're going to move on. And this is an email to Anthony on the 9th, 2 days after her initial email on the 7th. And just following up, my editors are down for me just coming Monday, if that still works for you guys. Now remember, Monday is October 15th. So the convention, at least as I understand it, went from October 11th to October 14th. And she was coming down to speak to people at the convention on the 15th. Basically, as I understand it from what Anthony told me, is that she was going to be quarantined so she couldn't disrupt the convention itself. Now, with that said, Anthony publicly tweets, and this is on the 14th of October, the last day of the convention, "Looking forward to having Nellie Bowles from the New York Times talk with some of our 21Con speakers tomorrow after the Red Man Group Live." Now, again, this confirms they were going to be meeting the Monday, October 15th. Now, the other side of this is that Rollo, during the convention, sent Anthony a text. I believe this is, like iPhone communication or something. I don't mess with iCrap, but apparently they do, so whatever. It says, "Be sure you okay Nellie for Monday. She was hitting me up on my DM this morning." Okay, so apparently Nellie and Rollo are DMing each other either through text or through iPhone or whatever this messaging service is, whatever. Then Rollo asks Anthony on the night of October 13th, which is Saturday during the convention, "Should I invite Nellie to Sock's party?" And Anthony basically says no. Now, this is probably a joke, to be honest. I mean, I think he was just kind of being sarcastic here, so let's kind of give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, in many things, Rollo seems to have opposable thumbs, so I don't think he was serious, but who knows? Maybe he was going to see how far he gets, you know? He was going to try his game on Anthony or something. But again, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and just assume he's joking, just, because the truth is damning enough. All right, so this right here is a screenshot from the 21 speaker chat. So the 21 convention speaker chat. And this is from Anthony Johnson. And this is the 14th, the last day of the convention at 11:18 a.m. And this can be verified by all the speakers if they choose to look at this Twitter chat. It's a private DM chat that the speakers were at for the 2018 21 convention. Anthony gave me access to it. I signed an NDA, so I'm not disclosing any of the other information there. If I did, Anthony could sue me into the Stone Ages, but I have his permission to share this. It states, "New York Times chick is allowed to show up tomorrow only, Monday at 2 p.m. under tight supervision. She does not get the address until 1 p.m. Monday." Okay, so Anthony's keeping the information about the 21 convention completely compartmentalized. He's trying to protect the men who attended. He is trying to protect his speakers. And of course, he's trying to protect the venue. This makes perfect sense, and it is consistent with everything that's happened so far. Now, I haven't shown all the screenshots that I have. I haven't shown all the information I have, but everything I've seen so far basically confirms that Rollo approached Anthony to get Nellie Bowles into the convention. Initially, Anthony said no, and then he said, okay, after it's over, we can do a kind of a quarantine situation to protect everybody, and then this way she can't just party crash. Now, think about that for a moment. Now, on the night of the 14th, there was a social gathering after the event, and it was at a location in downtown Orlando. Rollo reaches out to Anthony via this text message at 9:39 p.m. on Sunday and says, "Where's the party?" And then Anthony tells him it's some kind of cigar bar. If you kind of see, apparently my blackout game needs help. So there you go. But it was some kind of cigar bar someplace. So anyway, you'll know that it's a cigar bar because here is the private gathering right here. Okay, this is the video of it. and we'll just kind of bounce around a little bit. You can see her there. There's Nelly Bowles, and people are like, they're sitting outside. I don't know, maybe it's something here, but there's, people sitting here and they're smoking. So maybe it's I don't know, maybe it's a bar or something. There's Rich Cooper. So there he goes. He actually looks like a man. The transition's going pretty well. Anyway, there he is again. So, but yeah. Oh, and look, that looks like, is that Rollo? Is that Rollo? Look, he's like sitting back, like trying to figure out what the hell's happening. Interesting. So anyway, we move on, and Anthony and Nelly had some conversation back and forth that culminates with Nelly saying, genuinely, Anthony, someone in your group invited me and told me to come just now. I'm so sorry. It felt like I was crashing. That was in no way at all my intention. Then she goes on and states, I was invited to that evening session by Rollo. He said that 5 of the 21Con guys wanted to meet and chat off the record before the next day's on-record interviews. I asked if he was sure. He said yes. I have all these DMs and have sent them to Anthony. After all this happened, and after Rollo doxed the location and this unfortunate confrontation occurred, Anthony and 21 Convention put out a 15-page statement that included the video that I just showed and many of the texts that are here. I'm just going to kind of go through this real quick. There's some texts that are here. Just kind of scrolling through. That way you can kind of see. This is on Scribd. This link will be in the description of the video. More text. Look at us. We're texting again. Lots of texts. And of course, look, you can reward your curiosity if you want to buy Scribd because, they got to shill themselves. But, whatever. And then we're going to move on. Now, the reason that this is important is because leftists have been attacking people for a while, and it's been getting more and more violent. This is Jeremy Hambly. He runs the YouTube channel, The Quartering. This guy doesn't threaten anybody, ever. However, he was assaulted at a bar one night after Gen Con, after somebody found out who he was. He needed 3 people to pull off of his attacker. Now, to Jeremy's credit, I've actually met him. The man's 6'5". So when you need 3 people to pull somebody off of you when you're 6'5", you know that guy's an absolute danger to your life. In addition to that, everybody remembers how Antifa brought in what appears to be possibly thousands of people to harass Milo at Berkeley. And then on top of that, somebody decided to load child porn on Alex Jones' computer and then try to blame him for it. Again, these are leftists. These are people trying to deplatform people, telling the truth. And even if I don't agree with everything Alex Jones says, I don't think that he should be the victim of this type of crime or any other crime. And then on top of that, Roosh V, back, I want to say this is 2015, Roosh V got stalked when he tried to come out with his neo-masculinity movement, and he got beer thrown in his face as a result. And then recently, since the 2016 election, Breitbart has recorded 639 cases of media-approved violence and harassment against Trump supporters. Let's call this what it is. This is national origin discrimination. This is terrorism. These are hate crimes committed by anti-American leftists. These are people who do not support the freedom of speech. These are people who do not support the Second Amendment, and they definitely don't support due process under the law. What they support is witch hunting and violence, period. Now, the reason this is a concern is because Anthony is often seen with his trademark hat, Make Women Great Again. Now, prior to wearing this particular hat, Anthony used to wear the MAGA hat, Make America Great Again. Now, you can do a quick internet search and you can find that there are multiple instances of people wearing a hat that looks almost exactly like this who are the victims of unprovoked violence. And then on top of all that, remember last year when Tucker Carlson had his home under siege from Antifa? Well, this year, Antifa plastered posters around Washington, D.C. with Tucker Carlson's address as a warning after attacking his home last year. They practically broke his door down. They terrorized his wife and his children. Why? Because they didn't like the news he was reporting. So when you dox the confidential location of a male gathering, especially if it's a healthy red pill male gathering, to a feminist journalist, or anybody else for that matter, you are putting those men in danger. So the problem with Vichy voices in the Manosphere, like Cosplay Tomassi, is that in their own narcissism and hubris, they justify betraying not only the men who follow them, but the men who considered them close and trusted friends. There is no worse sin than betrayal. When Rollo betrayed the trust and confidentiality of his fellow 21 convention speakers and the men who paid to attend that event, he actually put them in physical danger from feminist bigots, Antifa, and social justice warriors. Tomassi's betrayal could have gotten these men who trusted him fired from their jobs, destroyed their careers, subjected them to doxing, and caused them to be ostracized from their communities and their families alike. Tomassi's backdoor relationship with this feminist New York Times reporter put every man associated with the 2018 21 convention in harm's way. For her part, the New York Times reporter Nellie Bowles, from the evidence I've seen, at all times acted in good faith and extremely professionally, which is something I cannot say for Rollo Tomassi himself. However, as a feminist reporter who has a history of opposing masculine male teachings from strong male voices like Jordan P. Peterson, she could have brought Antifa or armed violent social justice warriors to bear. If that had happened, then the late-night confrontation that Anthony recorded could have gone far differently. If this fraud father were half the red-pilled man he cosplays, then he would have never put innocent men's lives in danger and would have immediately apologized to his fellow 21 convention speakers and the attendees publicly, as well as accepted complete responsibility for his conduct. Instead, Rollo and those around him have focused on defamation, lying, and attempting to conceal Rollo's unethical betrayal of those who trusted him. Remember, trust but verify always, and never, ever forgive anyone, man or woman, who refuses to accept responsibility for unethical conduct, especially when it puts innocent men's lives in danger. Were I Anthony Johnson, I'd sue Rollo and those around him into the Stone Ages for their efforts to destroy the Red Man Group, the 21 Convention, and their attempted character assassination of Anthony Johnson personally. I'm DDJ, and this Bukkake Chokeslam is your dose of misandry today. Hey everybody. So I can see that part 1 of this series created some major waves across the Manosphere. Many Rollo fans were concerned, and some even accused me of creating drama. Let me address that, since this accusation seems to get leveled at everybody who calls out unethical conduct. Let me put this to bed once and for all. If you watched part 1 of this series, it's clear that I'm calling out a betrayer who is attempting to create drama, not creating drama myself. This betrayer, Rollo Tomassi, I verifiably demonstrated, secretly maintained a long-standing, secret, backdoor partnership with a feminist reporter who works for a news outlet that publishes articles promoting the hatred of healthy masculine men. This reporter herself even admits to having a standing relationship with Rollo Tomassi. I provided screenshots of emails and messages to that effect. Fun fact, when it's the truth, it's not defamation, slander, or libel. If Rollo wants to test me, let him try to sue me in court, and let everybody watch me crucify him. You see, what's funny is that not a single detractor who attacked me for my video ever mentioned Rollo's backdoor feminist dealings. It's like they're so blue-pilled, they're afraid to even address it. By itself, Rollo's backdoor alliance with this New York Times feminist reporter is a betrayal to masculine men around the world. Today, far too many people are indoctrinated to be sheep, to be lambs led to the slaughter. If you look at some of the comments in my first video, you can see it in the tone and the content of the detractors. It's like one of the messages from the Matrix. Blue-pilled people are so comfortable living their lie, they cannot handle the truth. It hurts too much. They will even fight and die to protect their comfortable lie, just so they don't have to face the truth or any kind of verifiable facts for what they truly are. A long time ago, it used to be common knowledge that all evil people needed to do to succeed is for good men to stand by and do nothing. Today, that common wisdom seems to be all but forgotten among everybody, from boomers to Gen Z. So to the people that are upset because I called out Tomassi's betrayal and I exposed his secret alliance with a feminist New York Times reporter, I have the following questions. When the original Americans were unfairly discriminated against, should our forefathers have just shut up and taken it? Bend over and just go with it? Or were they right to fight against the unethical conduct they were receiving? As every American should know, our forefathers stood against unethical conduct and fought to create the United States and our Constitution, which gives us not only our civil rights, but our entire way of life. Our country is the longest running, most stable government in the modern world. When Hitler, Stalin, and Chairman Mao collectively murdered hundreds of millions of innocent people, should we have just shut up and accepted it? When illegal aliens, sponsored by corrupt left-wing bigots, victimize American families, should we just go with it? Let them sexually assault our mothers, our sisters, wives, and daughters? I mean, no one wants to be accused of creating drama, right? Well, what about the men who had women cheat on them? Should they just take it? Sit in the corner while your woman gets railed by her bull? Or maybe pay for his Uber back to his house once he's done with her? Buy him dinner and thank him for giving her an orgasm while you watched? I mean, if you're lucky, maybe you can eat their freshly baked cream pie for dessert, especially if you're the type of guy who can't handle conflict. Maybe this is the meal for you. Or maybe, just maybe, and I know I'm going out on a limb here, but maybe you man the fuck up and you hold everybody accountable who disrespects or tries to victimize you and those you care about. But here's a reality check. Anyone, and I mean anyone, who whines when others take out the trash by falsely painting them as drama queens, what's really going on is that these detractors are admitting that the truth hurts. And their pain, it's unbearable. So remember that the next time you read a comment that accuses me or anyone else of creating drama, when in actuality, all we're doing is just taking out the trash. Also, be especially suspect of any comment that is extremely negative, but refuses to address any of the issues contained in my videos on this or any other subject. This is because these commenters are often sock puppets attempting to derail the message with ad homs and logical fallacies in hopes of changing the conversation to avoid any real discussion about the damning, verifiable facts I've raised. Finally, and this is important, whether the commenter is falsely accusing me of drama or just making personal attacks while avoiding any credible criticism of the issues, this is blue pill behavior. Remember, red-pilled men and women address the truth, regardless of how painful it is. Blue pillars and purple pill power bottoms who cosplay as red pillars will do everything they can to avoid any real discussion of the verifiable facts, at all costs. Now, with that out of the way, it's time to continue to pull back the curtain and reveal some more of the verifiable facts surrounding Rollo Tomassi. Not only did Rollo maintain a backdoor secret alliance with a feminist New York Times reporter, but as you're about to find out, Rollo tried to take over the Red Man Group and is actively trying to destroy the 21 Convention. This is the Red Man Group LLC operating agreement. When Anthony set up the Red Man Group, he set it up as a business, as an LLC. And the partners originally in that LLC were Anthony Johnson, Richard Cooper, and Rollo Tomassi. Now, Rollo has actually signed his real name here, but I'm not going to dox him because I don't dox people. So there you go. And they signed this agreement on January 23rd, 2019, apparently at Anthony's home. Now, the reason I bring that up is that January 23rd, 2019 is an important date. Shortly thereafter that, on the 6th of February, less than a month later, approximately, I'd say 2 weeks, Rollo sent this email to Anthony Johnson and to Richard Cooper. Now, I'm not going to read the entire email, and I'm definitely not going to read the part where he whines about me and he gets angry about MGTOW, because apparently Rollo's not capable of building bridges. He wants to keep the different tribes of the Manosphere apart. However, here's the part that I think that is extremely important, and I'm going to go ahead and read this because I think that it really gives us an insight into the mind of Rollo Tomassi. Number 3, Rich doesn't trust Anthony. Anthony thinks Rich has overreacted. The end result is that this leaves RMG in a bad spot. My first impulse is to disband RMG entirely, delete the channel, and just deal with the fallout from the subscribers and the MGTOWs who were only too eager to claim it a victory. Okay, well, first and foremost, wow. You want to talk about narcissism? Rollo thinks he's going to disband RMG at this point, when the reality is that Anthony owns a third, Rich at this point owned a third, and he owned a third. So he thinks he's going to disband the channel and by himself, as though his third voting membership somehow gives him some kind of power. It doesn't, because he'd have to either have Anthony or Rich be a part of it. And at this point, it appears as though both were truly vested in keeping with RMG, despite some of the stuff that had happened. In other words, DDJ, TFM, MGTOWs, incels get what they wanted, they win. I even wrote that in my notes while the two of you were bickering. DDJ wins. Well, again, frankly, TFM doesn't give a shit about the RMG. He never did. And TFM's and my disagreement, we've both moved on from that, and we're both doing our own thing. MGTOW, they're going their own way. Incels, I don't give a shit what incels do. You know, it is what it is. But we're moving on. I don't want to do that. RMG has a lot of value, and a lot of people are in limbo about this thing because they care about it. I've spoken with Ryan, Donovan, Carl, and Hunter in private about a way forward. Hunter in particular needs to know what's going on because he's got the Patriarch show to host, as well as being a featured speaker at the 21Con in May. This shit reflects on him and his reputation as much as us. I don't have the liquid assets to buy out both of your interests in RMG, certainly not at $40,000 to $50,000 that Anthony was suggesting. Ryan, Donovan, and Carl really want to keep this thing going, as do I, so I'm going to suggest the following. All right, let's stop here. This is virtue signaling, and I don't understand why Rollo is so narcissistic that he thinks he can speak for anybody. Ryan, Donovan, Carl, and Hunter, apparently, they're all red pill content creators, which means that, well, I don't think that their dick is in a purse, and I don't think that their spine is on layaway. If they have any concerns, they can approach Rich and Anthony and Rollo together. Rollo doesn't have to do any backdoor dealing with these people. And the fact that he's even trying to set these people up for a split by trying to pretend that Rollo, Donovan, Carl, and Hunter are basically promoting this split, that's just unethical. It's unethical even if they agreed to do so, because again, he's going behind the backs of Rich Cooper and he's going behind the backs of Anthony Johnson. Again, his business partners. I want you to remember that, okay? That's the kind of ethics that you're dealing with. A guy who's going to go and do backdoor dealings, not just with feminists from the New York Times, but he's going to do backdoor dealings with other red-pilled people to try to drive a wedge through relationships within the red pill community. Okay, Rollo acts as though he's an educator, and he acts as though he wants to bring people together in public. That's a ruse. You can see right here from this email that he contacted Ryan, Donovan, Carl, Hunter, and probably other people in private to drive a wedge in their relationship between Anthony and them, and probably even Rich at some level as well. Now, we're going to move on. He wants them both to sign over interests in Redman Group to allow me to run the show as I see fit, and according to what our regular panel members decide to do with it. Redman Group becomes a separate entity apart from 21 Convention Studios, with the option to do live shows from the conventions if this is what the panel agrees to. Although I will have primary control of the Redman Group, it will be treated as a co-op between myself, Ryan, Donovan, Hunter, and Carl. I know I read that in the wrong order, but get over it. So basically, he's saying that he's going to completely control Redman Group. So If Red Man Group doesn't want to do 21 conventions or studios, assuming that, that Rich and Anthony just give him the Red Man Group like it's some sort of fucking left-wing welfare. Like, feel sorry for Rollo. Rollo's pathetic. Give him Red Man Group for free because Rollo doesn't want to pay for it. That just sounds like welfare. What is that? Is that like old person red pill reparations? I mean, what are we talking here? Does the fraud father, is he trying to game Rich and Anthony to say, look, I know you guys are working hard here, but give me this shit for free because my name's Rollo and my narcissism requires it? I mean, what the fuck's going on here? All right. Now, we're going to continue on. It also separates RMG as a show being primarily about intersexual dynamics from any 21 conventions that Anthony may want to focus on strictly political themes in the coming 2 to 3 years. Well, you know what? Here's the thing, Rollo. Feminism is not only intersexual dynamics, but it is also political in nature. Feminism is absolutely an ideology. And opposition of feminism cannot just be from man-to-man personal decision-making alone. There has to be political opposition because feminists lobby for legal changes in the law. They lobby the courts. They control the courts. So there has to be political themes if we are going to support men and stop the discrimination against men. We have to. There has to be some politics there. The fact that you're so limp-wristed that you can't handle the political piece tells everybody just how committed you are to the men in the Manosphere, which we're about to find out later is not at all. Now, we're going to move on. This is Rollo, will assume primary scheduling and topic creation for the channel. Okay, again, that's his narcissism. I want complete control. Give me control. And in this entire email, there's no money. Now, I would scroll down to the bottom where it says respectfully, but Rollo doxes himself, so I'm not going to dox him. Now, the other thing about this is that this is a chat group from Twitter that Rollo and his inner circle belong to, called Rollo and Friends. And Anthony has a large number of posts from this secret group, which, by the way, Rollo's OPSEC is lacking. All right, so Rollo says, I told Pat I was going to call it with Anthony after October anyway. So in other words, Rollo was already planning on backing away from the 21 convention. He just wasn't going to speak there anymore. What it sounds like what he wanted to do is he wanted to do a hostile takeover of the Red Man Group and then quit the 21 convention once he stole Anthony and Rich's platform from them. Then he goes on to state, I definitely want to do a new show with you guys. So yes, just consider us planning a new gig. We discussed this when Rich left, and I think I fucked up by not just cutting ties with Anthony then. So in other words, Rollo was planning this. And again, Rich left right around the time this email came out. And again, this email was February 6th, 2019. So probably, February, March, something like that. So he actually was talking right here. He admits that he and his inner circle were having these conversations about how to split, how to take over the Red Man Group and kind of do their own thing. That's a problem. That's a problem, and it is completely unethical. This is backdoor dealing. This is feminine behavior. This is not the behavior of a red pill man. Now, we're moving forward. He also states, Red Pill 101 is still going to be a show for sure. We can also bring Redline under my roof or Donovan's with no problem. I just got off the phone with Pat and we're cool. I actually felt worse about how I handled last Friday's caller than this shit. Well, yeah, because, Rollo's a narcissist. He has no empathy for anybody. He just cosplays that shit. That's why you don't ever see him host his own shows very often, or if he does, he's always got other people, unless he does kind of like expose sort of stuff that's like pre-canned speeches and that sort of thing. Now, they've created a new show. Here it is. It's, Cuck Zero for successful female strategies or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I read that wrong, but I think that's pretty close to what it was. And then there's a new show announcement. Now, here's the thing that's interesting. We're going to kind of switch gears a little bit. All right. This is Ryan Stone. And he says, sweet, Rollo, if you don't have time for branding, let me know. I'll pick up the torch. And that's what happened. Cuck Zero for successful females, that ran on Ryan Stone's channel right here. All right. So then he states, I'm going to out and out an email about refunds and ask Anthony if he has any plans for that, and probably take Rich's advice on parameters. Okay. Let's talk about the implications of that for just a second, but we're going to share some more facts before we dive into that. Here's another thing. This is from a forum, and I think I'll post the link of this. If I can find the link, I'll post the link for this forum. This is Ryan Stone again. At Iron Eyes, this would be a good time to give an example of how to properly discontinue a business arrangement. If anyone was fraudulently given the impression that Rollo Tomassi would be a keynote speaker, it would be best to first contact the organizer and then escalate to payment processors if not resolved to one's satisfaction. This is Ryan Stone following through on this, where he's trying to push for refunds for the 21 convention. That's what they're talking about, okay? Now, this is Ryan Stone's email that he was talking about. This is like his email newsletter he does for retards, or I don't know what the R stands for, but that's my guess. So here we go. So, and then of course, there's the modest picture of them on the stage, and he talks about Rollo and the 21 convention. We're going to kind of skip down a little bit here. It says, send an email. This is number one right here. Send an email to tickets@21convention.com or contact @beachmuscles directly about a refund. I have his affiliate payouts in my Stripe account. I assume, being a businessman, he will reimburse you, and I'm ready and waiting for him to request the affiliate payments refunded on my end. Okay, so Ryan knows that there are no refunds for the 21 convention, and he's telling his entire email list to ask for a refund. That's bad faith. It is, well, we're going to go into what it is in a minute, because Rollo did the same thing. Rollo, on June 2nd, talked about a 21 convention dates cancellation, and he says, quote, "This is a very unfortunate turn of events, since it means I will not be attending the Poland convention or the Orlando event. If you purchase the ticket through my affiliate link and you no longer wish to attend, you'll have to contact Anthony Johnson for a refund." All right? Now, he knows there's no refunds. The other thing is this. This Rollo and friends looks like that Ryan Stone was coordinating with Rollo himself and at least Rich Cooper and probably other people. This looks like he followed through on that coordination and started executing on it. Not only did he send an email to his people about this, but Rollo sent it to his, I think it's like 500,000 subscribers or unique visits to his blog every month. Well, there's a definition for this. It's called tortious interference, also known as intentional interference with contractual relations. In the common law of torts, it occurs when one person intentionally damages someone else's contractual or business relationship with a third party, causing economic harm. So let me give you an example. So you have some piece of shit who goes and tells people who purchase 21 convention tickets, you need to ask for a refund because Rollo's no longer speaking and I'm no longer speaking. So therefore, you've been defrauded. Okay? That's the narrative that they're going with. That's what they've said. So that's tortious interference. They could be sued for that. Their marital communities can be held legally liable for that. So again, according to Cornell, at common law, a defendant is liable to pay damages in tort for actions intended to interfere with the plaintiff's contractual relations with a third party. In an intentional interference claim, the burden is on the plaintiff to prove the elements of the claim rather than the defendant to prove that its acts were justified. To prevail on the claim, the plaintiff must prove 4 elements. 1, that a valid contract existed. Well, guess what, boys and girls? I did the homework. Verbal contracts in the state of Florida are valid. Lots of case law. Number 2, that the defendant had knowledge of the contract. Well, at all times, Rich Cooper, Ryan Stone, and Rollo Tomassi had knowledge of the verbal contract. They were speakers at the event, and they were affiliates selling tickets. Number 3, the defendant acted intentionally and improperly, which they did. They told people to start getting refunds and falsely claimed that there was a fraud being taken place because they were no longer speaking at the event. And number 4, that the plaintiff was injured by the defendant's actions. Well, I can tell you this. I have seen many of the attempted chargebacks, and many of the people who were requesting chargebacks have quoted Rollo and Rich and have said that both have attempted to request chargebacks, and that's the reason they're doing it. It's because Rollo and Rich told them to. Guess what? That's intentional interference with a contractual relationship. Oh, and here's a handy piece of case law. United Truck Leasing Corp versus Geltman from 1990. Now, everybody's been asking me, well, why would Rollo do this? Why would he do this? There's no motive here, DDJ. Why would he do this? Rollo, he's our Jesus. He's our Jesus Christ. He's the guy who jumps the fence to get to the promised land and mow our lawns. He's the promised one. Well, what's going on there, brah? All right. Well, let me burst your bubble here, ladies. This is a text from Rollo Tomassi. Quote, imagine how much money I could make if I said fuck it and threw the red pill and the whole manosphere under the bus. I could just unblock Nellie Bowles and play her like a fiddle, giving her confirmation of every ugly suspicion the mainstream media ever wanted to write about the red pill. We could do a major investigative documentary on the ugly misogynistic underbelly of the Nazis, ethno-nationalists in the red pill and broadcast it on CNN. Then he goes on and he says, then I could completely renounce all things red pill and join forces with the likes of Dr. Babe Love and talk about how awesome women are, how misunderstood they are, and to push for purple pill mutual understanding while spouting off some earthy woo-woo mysticism because it feels good and it builds my brand in positivity. And all these fuckwits would believe it. Now, you want to talk about motive? It's no more complex than greed. Period. That's always what it's been about. It's about Rollo building his brand. It's about Rollo being in control. He wanted to take control and have 100% of control of the Red Man Group, and he tried to force Rich and Anthony out for nothing. You know, he wanted, I don't know, old person grandpa reparations for being the grandfather or the fraud father or whatever of the Manosphere. And then in the entire time, he was working to backstab them. So let me reiterate. As you can see, Rollo, after less than 2 months of officially going into business with both Anthony Johnson and Rich Cooper, attempted a hostile takeover. He tried to force out both Anthony and Rich Cooper. While Rich eventually sold his interest in the Red Man Group LLC to Anthony Johnson, he made Anthony Johnson the majority shareholder. This is not what Rollo wanted. Rollo wanted exclusive control. His email that I showed in this video even admits it. Also, don't forget, Rollo admitted in email to working behind the scenes to persuade at least 4 other people close to Anthony to abandon him and to follow Rollo's lead instead, and 2 of them did, Carl and Ryan Stone. Even worse, Rollo, Ryan, and others in the Tomassi and Friends inner circle conspired to commit tortious interference against 21 Convention and Anthony Johnson by telling 21 Convention ticket holders to ask for refunds, even though at all times they knew or should have known that there are no refunds for convention tickets. Not only does this put Tomassi and his marital community at risk for legal liability, but also puts Ryan Stone, Rich Cooper, and anyone else in the Tomassi and Friends inner circle and their marital communities, if any, in legal jeopardy also. Rollo acts like a nice guy in public, but it's all just an act. As you can see, behind the scenes, Rollo is a two-faced, greedy backstabber willing to sell out the entire Manosphere just to make a buck. So let's recap for the back of the class. In part 1, I exposed Rollo's long-standing secret backdoor relationship with a feminist New York Times reporter, Nellie Bowles. I also showed emails where Nellie Bowles herself admitted she only found out about the cigar bar because Rollo personally invited her to it, not because of any social media posts by anybody else. Then I showed how less than a month after Rollo officially joined the Red Man Group LLC as a partner, he attempted a hostile takeover. I also showed that while this was happening, Rollo was secretly working behind the scenes to get everyone associated with Anthony Johnson and the Red Man Group LLC to abandon those business relationships in favor of working with Rollo himself. If you check Ryan Stone's channel, you will see many former Red Man Group members now working with Rollo in his Cuck Zero show. which confirms the messages I reviewed in this video. Then I showed that Rollo, Rich Cooper, Ryan Stone, and others conspired to tortiously interfere with the 21 convention, defamed both the convention and Anthony Johnson personally, as well as contacted their fan bases in a wrongful effort to persuade them to request a refund of their tickets. Finally, I showed Rollo's willingness to sell out the entire Manosphere just to make a buck. Anyone who still thinks Rollo is an ally to the Manosphere or Red Pill Truth is deeply mistaken. Rollo and his allies are enemies of red-pilled men everywhere. Red-pilled men do not backstab one another. That's a bitch move. Rollo and his friends are jealous of Anthony and everything he's built, and their gestalt feminine jealousy is driving their unethical conduct. And now the world can see these feminine backstabbers for who they really are. Were I Anthony Johnson, I would sue every one of these bitches into the Stone Ages for their feminist conspiracy to take down Anthony Johnson, the Red Man Group LLC, and the 21 Convention. And then I would salt the earth around them and make sure everyone knows that this is what happens to backstabbing betrayers of masculine men. As masculine men committed to red pill truths, we have enemies throughout the mainstream media and left-wing social justice groups. And now, just like APOC from The Matrix, we now realize we have enemies in our midst, betrayers amongst us. The problem, which I've discussed before, is the red pill blind spot. We think that just because someone claims they're red-pilled, that we take them at their word. We shouldn't. We should trust, but verify. Always. I'm DDJ, and this ongoing expose of the fraud father of the Manosphere is your dose of misandry today.
And that guy's name was Anthony the Dream Johnson, the president of the fucking Manosphere. There's only one guy in the Manosphere, the president of the fucking 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 Manosphere. And that guy's name was Anthony the Dream Johnson, the president of the fucking Manosphere. There's only one guy in the Manosphere,